So the whole point of this channel is to help you win. Because when I started my journey in business, there weren't a lot of YouTube channels sharing real life lessons. But I think we can take a unique approach to this. And in this video in particular, I'm going to share the characteristics that make great consumer businesses. In the last 5 years, I've scaled 2 different brands. I also have a 7-figure agency on the side as well. And in doing so, I've had the immense pleasure of meeting a lot of entrepreneurs who have built great companies. And over time, you start pattern matching and recognizing that these entrepreneurs all have something in common. In this video, we're gonna go over time in the game. We're gonna go over channel strategy, product, margin, and founder traits. Oh, dude, where did this come from? What a trip. This is one of my first, so the product I prototyped and never launched. Every single entrepreneur who has started a consumer business and reached significant numbers has significant time in the game. Sometimes you get a black sheep who seems to shortcut their way to 9 figures or high 8 figures, rarely accounting for proper time in the game. They usually have a lot of experience in another company or in the same industry. They're just bringing through a new venture. But to really win a consumer, you have to learn a lot of hard lessons, and the only way to really learn those lessons is through pain. I'm gonna give you a few examples of great consumer businesses and tell you how they have time in the game. I'm also gonna give you one of those black sheep and debunk that the founder had a lot of time in the game. So number 1, I like to bring up this example, even though they're not 9 figures. My friends Matt and Meredith at Boardwalk. I met them when they were doing 7 figures a few years ago, call it 4 years ago. This was when I was really starting on my business journey. I wanted to meet other entrepreneurs. They gave me a lot of advice and helped me. One of the things that happened is I talked to them a lot and showed them what I was doing with organic social content. They took that to heart. They spent 1.5 years, 2 years trying to crack the code on their own personal organic social content. The result of that is present day, they're doing over 50 million views on Instagram and growing. The result is their business is now over 8 figures. Should we just call him?
Do it.
Is this too messy?
No, keep going.
We're calling Matt. Hey Matt, I'm making a YouTube video. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions and you appear in the video? Sure. I'm kind of bringing up Boardwalk as an example because you guys are breaking past 8 figures this year. You are a great example of grit in that you've been doing it for a long time. How long have you been doing it?
Well, as far as short form video, we started making that a real focus in probably the second quarter of 2022. But even before that, we had been trying to do what we could, even though we didn't really know much about like short form video or anything, just static images, to try and get people that followed our pages and our accounts engaged, question of the day posts.
Yeah, you are always writing great content online. How long have you been running the business?
Let's see. We started in 2014. I wouldn't say that it needs 10 years. Some people are able to just like on their model and have success much faster. For us, it did take a little bit longer, but we kind of had to learn a lot of stuff as we went along. So we had to like learn a lot of that stuff through trial and error. We're artists by nature. And so that's just come really easily to us. But so it probably took us a little bit longer, both in terms of like learning that stuff, but also figuring out where our focus should be directed.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Boardwalk is now hitting 8 figures. And as you saw in that call, it's literally only because they've been doing it for 10 years. Now let's actually talk about some businesses that are in the 9-figure range and kind of take a look at them. Another great example of this is Baseball Lifestyle 101. This year, they're gonna cross the threshold into 9 figures. I think they already have. Baseball Lifestyle 101 was started in 2017 as a fan page. They started selling merch. They crossed into 7 figures a few years later. Slowly over time, they built the business into a behemoth. Last year, they did 8 figures, and this year they're crossing to 9 figures. But it's been around since 2017. Think about starting as a meme page and staying consistent for that long and transitioning into a business. Most people quit at the 5-year mark. They didn't. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Runes. They're doing multi-100 million, crazy numbers. Founder Chad is an awesome guy, very friendly, very kind and giving. You see the 2 years. What I see is a guy who has spent well over 10 years in consumer, launching a brand that scaled into multi 9 figures. And it only worked because he had all of that time in the game beforehand. I'm gonna pull up Chad's LinkedIn right now and just read you some of the things he's done in his career since graduating college. So he started out with investment banking, started a company, then he became a YouTuber, got to 25K subs, joined Summit Partners as an investor, board observer Fracture, board observer IO, board observer Shubbies, board observer Oru Kayak, board observer Soul Stove, board observer Brooklyn, and board observer Ruggable, board observer Dr. Squatch, founded another company that sold to Format, and then launched Cruise in 2023. So if you really look at his work history, he has well over 10 years of experience and learnings in consumer, even if it was a little shorter. He sat on the board of some of the darlings of peak consumer, peak DTC, and he learned everything. So even when a company is an overnight success, there's an illusion to it. I think especially online, when you're looking at people going on podcasts, when you're looking at people on X, whatever, or Instagram, you're looking at the best moment highlights, the best reels. People only start talking about their wins when they're really winning. And oftentimes they neglect to tell you about the massive L's they suffered in the process to get there. Most of these entrepreneurs not only had time in the game, but they also had a lot of failures that they're not gonna talk about. And you will too. So here's the second thing that all 9-figure businesses have in common. Product, and in particular, product margin. What do I mean by this? When you're in your business journey, there's one thing that's going to happen over and over again. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Things outside your control will happen that just sidetrack you, or maybe even destroy your business. For example, earlier this year, tariffs came on, right? A lot of businesses are still winning. Why is that? Margin. I'm gonna talk about margin a little bit here. You have a product, let's say it's $100 that you're selling it for. Ideally, it's gonna cost you $30, $20 to make that product landed and get it into your warehouse in the US. So let's just start at $100 minus 20, you're left with an 80%. It's very important that that number is everything that goes into getting your product into the warehouse. It needs to be your total cost. So that includes freight to the warehouse, tariffs, manufacturing costs, etc. Because otherwise you're just misleading yourself. So here we have $100 minus 20, 80% margin, right? Then you're gonna need to spend money marketing. I spend my money on organic marketing, but most people will go with ads, which is also fine. You're gonna put 30%, maybe in some cases 40% into ads. Frankly, the more you can spend on ads, the faster you can grow. In this case, let's say 30%. Now you're left with 50. So after marketing expenses, you have 50%, right? Well, you're gonna have other expenses. Fulfillment. Let's say out of $100, it costs $10 to ship your product across the US, and that's maybe on the cheaper end for a larger product. For a smaller product, that's more on the expensive end. Let's say it also costs $3 to pick and pack it. We also should assume like a return rate or a defect rate. Call it $5. That's all in all 18. Let's round it up, be generous. Let's say shipping costs more than you expect because of yada yada, right? Things always go wrong in business. Now you're left with 30%. 30% just to get your product in customers' hands. This doesn't even include labor. This doesn't include paying yourself a fair salary. This doesn't include hiring employees to help you do your day-to-day tasks. So you can imagine when costs go up like tariffs, your margin goes down significantly. It really impacts your business, and you can increase prices, but if you had a higher margin at the start, 80%, you would then even be worried. More importantly, you can spend a lot more on marketing to grow faster. Let's assume a different scenario, and let's say you started at a 60% margin, right? Let's say your product cost, you still sold it for $100, but it cost $40 to make. You're looking at 60% gross margin. And if we keep all the other costs the same, right? 30% for marketing, 20% for fulfillment, you're gonna be left with 10% at the end of the day. Basically, in today's environment, if you're doing e-com and your margin's below 70%, you shouldn't even be doing it. Rethink your product. Start again. There's a lot of other factors that go into a great product, but I think margin is the most important one. Because if your margin is really great, you can bootstrap. You don't even need outside funding. You'll be printing money when competitors are just suffering. Objectively, what makes a great product? In my opinion, there's really three things that make a product great. The easiest way by far to make a fabulous product is for you to be passionate about it. When I started Mini Katana, I was incredibly passionate about pop culture. That was my end. I knew that a samurai letter opener would appeal to people like me, people who grew up watching anime, people who grew up watching Japanese media. Typically, when somebody launches their brand and it really works well, they are the target demographic, or they have a very close connection to the target demographic. You need data, is what I'm saying. And the best way to get it is by understanding it yourself. If you don't have that data, the second best way to get it is by talking to people who are the customer demo. Number two, understanding how manufacturing works. I have one recommendation for you, and this recommendation will change your life. If you want to make a real product, don't go on Alibaba as your primary source of product. Go to China. Pack up your bags and go to the Canton Fair. You're going to meet thousands of manufacturers with hundreds of thousands of product samples. You're going to be able to schedule factory tours that same day, and you're going to be able to see capabilities. How do you expect to make a great product if you don't even understand capabilities on the manufacturing front? So in conclusion, when we talk about product, focus on margin, being passionate about the product that you're engaged in. If you're not passionate, then have great data points. Maybe that's a wife. Maybe you talk to a lot of potential customers for it. You need to understand why somebody would buy this product to make a fantastic product. The second thing is understanding manufacturing processes so you can talk to your manufacturing partners properly, but also understanding how to make that product and how it's made will help you make a better end to it. So go to the Canton Fair. It will change your life. You're gonna be blown away by people's capabilities, by how hardworking they are, by innovation. And third, build for the channel. What that means is if you're doing e-com, make sure you try to pick something lightweight. Don't be like me and pick swords. Swords are so hard to ship everywhere. Don't pick furniture, you're gonna have a hard time. Try to optimize the product for the channel you're selling it in. If you're gonna make beverage, do retail. If you're gonna do services, none of this applies to you, so you can do whatever you want. Give yourself an easy time in business, follow these guidelines. You're gonna love me for it. You can do a million optimizations and you can still run afoul if you lack the personal traits that make a founder very successful. Every single founder of a large company has undeniable and great grit. When I launched Mini Katana, I didn't really know who to hire. The first people I hired were people that were very accessible to me, right? My first hire was somebody that helped me pack orders because I was doing all the order packing myself. That person was a family friend that I knew for over 10 years. He knew me since I was a kid. And he did a good job. We got a warehouse. I promoted him to warehouse manager. And he ended up stealing $50,000 from me. We weren't gonna make payroll. I got into fights with my family over it because they vouched for him. But I didn't give up. Called everyone I knew, asking for any amount of money they could lend me. We made payroll. We got back on our feet. We made it through the year. We did $2 million our first year. In business, you're gonna encounter a million of these things happening. It's not just gonna be embezzlement, it's gonna be your warehouse literally explodes. I know somebody whose warehouse exploded because he sold hand sanitizer. Lost tens of millions of dollars of product. Still suing his insurance company for the money today. He didn't quit. I know somebody who their first container, full container, $50,000 of product from China to launch their business, somebody stole it. They still don't really know what happened to this day. They didn't quit, kept going. If you go up to any entrepreneur and you ask, hey, what were the worst moments in your business? They're gonna tell you, they're gonna be honest with you. But they still didn't quit and they kept doing it. The point I'm making is, if you're gonna do high agency things, you have to be willing to accept pain and punishment. The world defaults to a state of slowness. Going fast, trying to achieve something is an inherently adversarial process. All great things are adversarial in this world. Let's step outside of the topic of this video for a second and talk about marketing, right? When you think of a great marketer, somebody who does something crazy or new, you think of adversarial campaigns. What do I mean by that? Right now, as we're shooting this video, Timothée Chalamet is promoting Marty Supreme. His promotion was a 30-minute video, which was a parody pitch to the marketing agency helping him market the movie. He talked about setting up a blimp that just said Marty Supreme, dyeing the Statue of Liberty orange, putting his face all over wheat things on every grocery aisle in America. I woke up the next day and I saw a blimp flying over my house. On paper, this blimp, editors put the blimp in, this blimp looks so silly. But in my head, this is one of the best marketing campaigns of this year easily, and I'm gonna go see the movie now. Because he did something adversarial. He didn't just go and put money into more billboards, into more TV ads. It wasn't typical marketing. Everyone defaults to a state of stillness and slowness. Everyone wants to be comfortable. And to succeed in any measurable way, you have to be against that. You have to flow against the current. When I launched my brand, nobody was doing short form marketing as a core business activity, right? It was very weird to be doing that because I launched with a letter opener and my Facebook ads account was banned. Most people would have quit. I'm like, I can't advertise. What am I going to do? We thought of a marketing technique that nobody was doing at the time, which is we're going to make videos, silly videos about our product. We're going to get attention against that product and we're going to be able to sell it. All great marketing, all great things are inherently adversarial. I'm building this channel to help you win. And if you can have one takeaway from this video, you don't want a hard business. I think people say to do hard things, scale hard things, and you'll succeed. Yes, there's an element to that. It's always hard. It's always hard. Even if it's an easy business, it's very hard. But what I mean by that is, at the other end of it, you should come out with something that's high margin, profitable, can support you and your family, and that you feel like you're passionate about and you're having a ton of fun in. If you're willing to invest time in the game, if you're willing to make sure you have the margin structure right from the beginning, don't think of that as an afterthought. If you think through the channel you're selling in, if you build something slightly unique, and by the way, you don't need to build a whole new product. You just need to make something 5% better. And you have a little bit of grit, and you can take a little bit of pain. And at the other end of it, you're going to walk away with something fabulous, an amazing asset that you're going to enjoy for the rest of your life.